Well, I went to all the negotiating sessions leading up to the creation of the Framework Convention on Climate Change. I went to COP1, COP2, and then I stopped coming because I didn't think the COP process was producing any impact on emissions. And I'm here because what's going on in Paris is really different. It's a new strategy, and I think it's going to work.
What's different about the new strategy that you think is going to work better?
I think there are two things that are different. One is the much greater role for bottom-up pledges, the INDCs, and the other is that countries are not just working in the big global framework under the UN, but they're also working in smaller groups, bilateral arrangements like US-China, groups like the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, other groups of countries working in the Arctic. And frankly, this is how you get serious about complicated problems, is you don't try and lump them all together in a gigantic global agreement. You break them down into components and you work those components, and that's what's new.
Isn't there a risk with the bottom-up approach that the efforts don't add up to the overall goal, which is, as you know, limiting global warming to 2 degrees?
Well, almost certainly the efforts won't add up to 2 degrees because nothing can add up to 2 degrees. The 2-degree goal was set in the 1990s, and it was really a political goal. And had we started controlling emissions then, it might have been achievable, but today it's not achievable. I'm actually very concerned that people are going to use 1.5 or 2 degrees as the metrics for success here in Paris, and they're going to be disappointed, when in reality what matters is that the Paris process turns the corner, sets up a new scheme so that over the next years and decades we actually can make some progress.
And what do we need to see after Paris then to keep this going?
Well, I think the most important thing is going to be the review mechanisms. This is a pledge and review. International law essentially is a volunteer activity, and countries put on the table what they're willing to do at home. And that's good news, but it's only good news if those pledges are followed up with review and they become stitched together over time and ratcheted forward. Right now we have a pledge system but no review. And frankly, I think the formal review is going to be very hard to establish here because there's always going to be some countries who don't want a formal review mechanism to work. And so I'm looking for the big countries to volunteer themselves after Paris for some kind of a rigorous review, including a big role for NGOs, and that'll demonstrate how you do serious review over time. And then eventually that can be brought back into the formal process.
Okay, so the review mechanism is crucial. Thank you, David, for coming in.
My pleasure.